When I speak to most people about money, it is extremely common for them to ask me about investing, retirement, or whether they're on track financially. These are all great questions, but what it normally leads me to ask is, well, when do you plan on retiring? When asked, most don't realize that there are options out there where they can actually use their retirement accounts before the age of 59 and a half. In today's episode, I want to show you how you can begin to withdraw from your retirement account early and not pay a single penalty when you do so. Doesn't that sound like a win, win, and another win? Let's jump in.
Welcome to the Financial Mirror. Where future success is reflected in our knowledge of fixing the one thing we can control, ourselves.
Hey, what's going on? Hopefully everyone is having a great weekend. I know that it is another great week for a Financial Mirror episode, so that is what we are doing today. In today's episode, it is all about a play on last episode and just giving you new options. I cannot wait. I'm so excited to be able to bring this to you today. Thank you for joining me on the Financial Mirror, where we continue to improve the one thing that you can control, yourself. If this is your first time joining in, don't forget to hit subscribe on YouTube to be notified of all the new episodes as they release. If you have found this as a Facebook video, don't forget to like and share. If you are listening on a podcast platform of your choice, don't forget to like and subscribe to the podcast. Spotify and Apple allow you to provide 5-star ratings, so go ahead and drop that 5-star rating. And if you are listening on Apple Podcasts, those written comments go a long way in helping the algorithm drive this message to more and more people that want to improve their personal finances just like you. So thank you, and I appreciate you joining in today. As I started off with, this is a play on a continuation of last week's episode where we discussed the FIRE movement, where we really looked at financial independence and the ability to retire early. Now, with that comes a whole new set of issues, right? Because whenever we start to think about the ability to retire early, we have to also bring into consideration our retirement accounts. We have to see that these retirement accounts are not ideal. They're not set up for you to start to draw out of them before 59 and a half years old. So if you are, 40 years old and you're wanting to retire and you're at that spot where if you watch last week's episode, you'll understand, but you're at that spot where your passive income exceeds your monthly expenses, well, maybe that means that you can go ahead and retire early. Now, this could mean that you may need a little extra income to do so. Maybe you're just barely missing it and you want to have like a bridge account to get you there, to help you. If you were like, man, if I just had a little bit more free time, if I didn't have to go to work, I could have enough passive income in, let's say, 2 years. Well, I've got you an option today that can help bridge the gap between when you want to retire and when you think that you're at 59 and a half and you can retire by the definitions that are out there with retirement accounts. What I want to do is I want to bring you some information that could potentially help you retire earlier. So this could be someone that is doing FIRE, that they are going through financial independence. They're trying to achieve that so that they retire early. But this doesn't have to be. This doesn't have to just be someone that's going through that whole FIRE movement. Maybe you just are like, man, I've got so much money built up into a retirement account, and I don't think that I'll ever, in all of my retirement, I don't think I'll ever go through it. Well, guess what? If you utilize this method, if you utilize this strategy, you can go ahead and start withdrawing from that retirement account at, let's say, 50 years old or 45 years old. The key here is that you do the math, that you understand that when you start taking money out of this account, that you don't run the risk of, depleting the account too soon. Most of the time in today's markets, the recommended rule is the 4% rule. I'm sure you've heard it, especially if you are getting to that retirement age. The 4% rule states that if you withdraw at 4% per year, there's a there you I'm not going to say that you won't, but over time you shouldn't deplete that account faster than it's going to be able to continue to generate. Think about that. That just means that on average, if you're taking 4% out, your money needs to be returning 4% back, right? That sort of keeps it at that middle of the road. Some years, obviously, you may have a negative return, but other years you may have an 8% return or a 12% return, or like we saw during the whole 2020, 2022 timeframe, 19 and 20% returns, right? So that 4%, that makes a big difference. But that's sort of the mindset there, right? So what if you just want to be able, you have extra money and you're like, I just want to take 4% out. I could start taking 4% out right now and I would never deplete that. I would never deplete it. I could start doing it. I'm 40 years old and I can start doing it right now. That's what this method's going to do. That's what we're going to go over today. I want you to be energized. I want you to be ready. I want you to be ready to take all this information in, because this is a strategy that I didn't even learn about until later on in my financial journey, right? This is a planning factor. This is something you can totally plan your retirement timeline around. So let's go ahead and jump in. Let's start talking about what this is exactly. Before I jump into the exact scenario, I just want to bring up what a Roth IRA, 401k, 403b is. What are those benefits? Well, you look at it, first and foremost, your Roth is funded with post-tax money. Hopefully you have some type of understanding of traditional versus Roth, but if you don't, that's okay. Come tune in next week where I will talk more about Roth conversions, converting from Roth from traditional to Roth. We're going to talk more about that. So next week, tune in for that. This week, I'm specifically focusing on the Roth. So think about the Roth IRA, think about the Roth 401k, the 403b. Those are becoming, the 401k and 403b are becoming a little bit newer. More employers are starting to offer a Roth option, which is great. But all for years, for decades, there's been a Roth IRA. So at a minimum, you probably have heard of that, or you probably have seen that. But your Roth IRA is going to be funded with post-tax money, meaning that money has already been taxed. That means that when you withdraw that money, you're going to withdraw it tax-free. The other key component there is that you don't have to pay taxes on the money that grows inside of it. So if your money appreciates, if it grows, if it has that 4% return or 10% return, you don't have to pay taxes on that growth, right? It's totally tax-free. So you put money in there, you pay the tax on the money before it goes in, and then you draw it out tax-free, it grows tax-free. You never pay taxes on anything inside of that account when you take it out. So that's some of the good news about the tax portions, but some of the other features, no required minimum distributions. That's awesome, because with other accounts, you have, like a traditional account, you have to start taking money out of that account at age 72. So that's a big deal. That's a huge deal. The other thing that we have to remember is that this money, by definition, cannot be withdrawn until 59 and a half. That's the age that people think they can retire. If you ask anybody when you're going to retire, well, I can take money on my IRA at 59 and a half. I'll just retire then. Well, no, that doesn't have to be the case. And I'm going to show you that today. But the impression out there is that if I take it out before 59 and a half, there's a 10% penalty if you do that. And that's true. There is a 10% penalty if you take your money out of your Roth IRA with money that you funded into your IRA, your Roth IRA, before the age of 59 and a half. That's a valid statement. is true. It could not be any truer, right? But I want to show you how you can sort of get around that. You can sort of still fund your IRA account, and I want to show you how you can do that, avoid the penalty, avoid that 59 and a half rule, and still be able to start to draw out of that account. And that's what I'm going to go over today. So starting off, I want to focus on people that are retiring early. So you have decided that you're going to retire early, right? Last week we discussed FIRE, which is financial independence, retiring early. So now let's just say you want to retire early. Well, that's huge. Congratulations. If you listened to last week's episode, you know that I ended that episode by saying the FIRE movement is not for everyone. I specifically said that because some of the sacrifices that you have to do when you're doing FIRE is you have to be committed. You have to give up certain pleasures in life. You have to give up certain things. And I discussed that in depth. So I want you to know, if you have decided to retire early and you want to focus on that FIRE movement, I tip my hat to you, because that is awesome. That is an awesome thing that you're wanting to do, because I think that FIRE brings a lot of good money habits, and I said that last week. But the first thing you want to do if you're going to retire early is you need to know what your retirement number is. Now, everyone should know what their retirement number is, but specifically, you need to know what your retirement number is. For you, if you're retiring early, you need to know how much money do you need to earn to cover your expenses without eating into the principal. If you're going to retire early, there's a chance that, or actually, let me just step back. Hopefully, if you're retiring early, you've paid off your house. You've really cut those expenses down a lot. Like you've paid off your house. You have no debt. You have a nice cushion emergency fund sitting there in case of an emergency. And then you're starting to focus on, I've got enough passive income, or I've got a account, a brokerage account big enough to fund this. Or maybe you've just worked so hard, you've just funded a ton of accounts, 401ks, IRAs, 403bs, so forth and so on. Last week I told you you could invest in index funds inside of a brokerage account, and that could sort of be a bridge account to 59 and a half, right? 59 and a half, that could sort of get you there. And then you can start drawing out of those other accounts. But the thing is if you do that, you will pay income tax on growth. You will 100% pay income tax on growth. So let's think back to the Roth IRA, to what I said earlier. You fund this with post-tax money, but it grows tax-free and you withdraw tax-free. That sounds like a better option, right? So if you had the option, so let's say you have a 401k, you have a traditional 401k or a traditional 403b or a traditional IRA, wouldn't it be better to have a bridge account that you can draw out of tax-free, that grows tax-free, and all of that, right? But it's not that easy, because there is an extra step, right? Because you're not supposed to be able to draw out of it until 59 and a half. But that's, if you want to retire early, that's sort of your two options. You're going to either build out a bridge account with a brokerage firm out there, or to get you to 59 and a half, or you're going to do exactly what I'm going to talk about in this episode today. Now, if you're not retiring early, and maybe you're just like, you know what, I'm tired of working. I've got a really good funded 401k, 403b. I want to retire at 50, or I want to retire at 55 versus 59 and a half, or whatever. These are options. This is an option for you as well. So this doesn't mean you have to, this is only for people that's retiring at 35. No, you can retire at 50. Remember, the age to draw out of that retirement account is 59 and a half. Any year that we can cut off of that is phenomenal, right? It's phenomenal. So today I want to show you how you can do this. There is an extra step. I said that. You're not supposed to draw out of until 59 and a half. You're supposed to pay a 10% penalty if you're drawing out of it. But today I want to show you how you can bypass that and still take money out of a Roth IRA account or a Roth 401k or 403b, most likely if you've listened to any of my episodes, you've heard me talk about the consolidation of some of these accounts. So I'm not going to get into that in huge detail, but I will tell you this. If you're leaving jobs with 401ks and 403bs, roll those into an IRA account, consolidate those. It makes it easier. Is it always the best? No, sure. There's always reasons why people don't do it, but I can tell you from experience, I've had a 401k that the company that was funding that 401k, they became very hard to cooperate and work with, to allow me to make changes, to update, sometimes even access the accounts. So not saying that they would have stole my money and ran off with my money, pulled burglar or anything, but what I am saying is that it just becomes easier when you have it in an IRA account, that you don't have to go talk to an old employer to try to access your 401k, or you end up your 401k, your company ends up switching to a new 401k provider. Now you have to worry about that transition and you're not an employee anymore. It's just a headache. It's a total headache. Don't do it. Just go ahead and roll it into a Roth IRA. If you have a traditional 401k or 403b, go ahead and roll it into a traditional IRA. Now, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this episode. This episode is about the Roth conversion ladder. This is called a Roth conversion ladder because it's a progression. It takes steps. You need to go through every step to be able to convert it. So I've discussed all the benefits of the Roth account, right? The tax-free growth, all of these things, no required minimum distributions. All of these things are great about the Roth account. So I'd also discuss that 10% penalty and the 59.5 that you can withdraw from. Today, this Roth conversion ladder is going to show you how you could retire early, withdraw from those accounts, and not be penalized. So the key to this, and I'm going to repeat it, the key to this is that you have to have the ability to move money from a traditional IRA or traditional 401k into a Roth IRA account. Okay? You've got to have that. If all of your money is in a Roth account already, well, guess what? You can't do the conversion part, right? So you're kind of out. You're kind of out of being able to do this. If all of your money is already in Roth, the Roth conversion ladder will not work for you. Now, if you have money in a traditional and in a Roth, or maybe all of your money's in a traditional, well, great. You meet the first criteria. The first criteria is you've got to have money stored in a traditional IRA, traditional 401k, or a traditional 403b. That's first and foremost the first requirement. So if you're not familiar with the traditional, like I said, is pre-tax money. Okay, pre-tax money. So when you're funding those through your employer, or you're funding those through your income, and you're just funding a traditional IRA, all of that is pre-tax money, and you will not have paid taxes on that money. Okay. So the law states that you can convert money from a traditional account to a Roth account, but you've got to pay taxes on the money when it moves. Okay. Because remember, your traditional account is funded with pre-tax money. Your Roth account is funded with post-tax money. So if you're going to convert money to that post-tax, you've got to pay taxes on it, right? So that means all of the money, when you're going through this conversion ladder, you have to pay taxes on. Okay, that's important to remember, and I'm going to highlight it again at the end because I really don't want you to lose sight of that. Step one was make sure that you have money stored in traditional accounts. For this to work, that's got to first and foremost be at the forefront of your mind. Step two is you have to understand that when you start this conversion, you've got to pay income tax at your current federal income tax rate at the time, at the year of conversion. Let me not say at the time. At the year of conversion, you're going to have to pay income tax on that. Say what? Yeah, income tax on that. So that is the number one thing that you've got to keep in mind. However, after you convert that money, remember, you're getting it into that Roth account. So it's going to start to grow tax free. And then it's just going to be able to be withdrawn tax free. Now, what is this latter part? Okay, so I got the Roth conversion. I got it. I'm converting a traditional to a Roth. I got it. But what's the latter part? Well, glad you asked. After you convert the money, after 5 years, you can withdraw that money tax free and penalty free. Meaning, you're going to be able to withdraw that money before 59 and a half and without paying a 10% penalty. You just have to convert it and then wait 5 years and then take out what you converted. So that's where the ladder comes in. The idea is that you make a conversion every single year. After the first 5 years, you can start to withdraw every single year, right? So if you're looking at this on the screen, you can sort of see a breakdown of how that goes. If you're listening to this on a podcast, I am going to do my very best to explain this. But if it still doesn't make sense, go to my YouTube channel, check out the video right here around the 21 minute mark. Go ahead and check out this video and see what this picture looks like. That's going to definitely clear it up. But so let's say I'm 30 years old and I make my first conversion in the year 2022, this year. I'm going to convert $50,000 to my traditional or to my Roth account, right? Next year, 2023, I'm going to convert another 50,000. Remember, I haven't withdrawn anything. I'm still just converting. So every year so far in 2022, I paid income tax on the first 50,000 I deposit or I converted. 2023, I pay income tax on the second 50,000 I converted. I'm now 32 years old. I'm converting another 50,000 in 2024. I pay income tax on it. 2025, I'm 33. I pay another income tax on 50,000. So I've converted 50,000 every single year since I was 30 years old. Now, what happens? In 2027, at 35 years old, I can withdraw my first 50,000, right? That's the conversion that I did in 2022. Make sense? 5 years after I converted that money, it's now withdrawable, penalty free, and before age 59 and a half. Tax free, growth free, all growth is tax free. Now, what happens in 2028? Well, I can withdraw another 50,000 because that's my 2023 conversion. Make sense? 2029, I can withdraw another 50,000 because that's my 2024 conversion. And for every single year, if you keep converting money, you can withdraw that amount. So let's say in 2023, I wasn't able to convert 50,000. I was only able to convert 20,000. Well, guess what? In the year 2028, I can only withdraw what I converted, right? I only can withdraw the 20,000. So that's important to remember. You can't withdraw because you got to keep up with how much you converted what year so that you can withdraw that amount. So hopefully that makes sense. But the idea is that you make a conversion every single year. After your first 5 years, you can start to withdraw every single year. You just got to wait out that first 5. So hopefully that makes sense. But in the first 5 years, you're going to make 5 conversions, 1 a year. After 5 years, your first conversion can be withdrawn, penalty and tax free. At the 6th year, your second conversion was withdrawn, penalty and tax free. At the 7th year, your third conversion was withdrawn, penalty, so forth and so on. But if you plan your accounts correctly, you could do this and it take you all the way to 59 and a half when you can start to withdraw money straight from your traditional account and you don't have to convert anymore. So if I'm 50, I could make conversions for 5 years, right? And then stop. And then not pay any income tax for 5 years. Because think about that. If I'm 50, if I'm 50 and I'm going to convert, from 50 to 55, I can't withdraw money, right? I can't withdraw money. But at 55, I can withdraw what I converted at 50. And you see, the next 5 years, I can withdraw money out, and that's going to get me to 60. And now I can withdraw straight out of my accounts. So if you plan this correctly and you build your ladder correctly, it can take you all the way to 59 and a half. Or it could help you retire early. You just keep converting, right? It just depends on how big that account is. If that account's big enough to withstand all those conversions, go for it. Retire early and just live on that. So I want to remind you of a couple things as I wrap up this episode that I have mentioned. First off, I want to put emphasis on this. Money converted will require you to pay taxes on it. I say it again, money converted will require you to pay taxes on it. The year that it's converted, you will pay your federal income tax rate on that money. Now, the other thing that I said once, I said twice, I said 3 times, and now I'm going to say it a 4th time. You can only do this if your money is in a traditional account. If your money is all in Roth, you cannot do this. If this could be a traditional 401k, it could be a traditional IRA, it could be a traditional 403b. It has to be traditional though. All of you, if you've been storing all your money in Roth, you can't do this. Most employers put you on a traditional plan by default. So there's a good chance that you fall into this category, but it's worth noting that because more and more employers are now offering Roth, that could become less of a norm, I guess I could say. And so if you're watching this video years down the road, outside of the year 2022, there is a chance that you could be more on Roth and this be less applicable. But the thing is if you follow this plan, you build out this ladder, it can absolutely be a great tool for you to retire early and have that passive income. And that's the part that I really want to drive home. That's the part that I want you to understand is that you can use this Roth conversion ladder to plan out your retirement. And that's something that I did a whole retirement series and I talked about it last week and I've talked about it in multiple episodes. It's a great success and I really enjoyed doing it. But the one takeaway that I hope that every single person got is that retirement does not just happen, right? I think that the biggest issue that what we face today is that more and more people are realizing that retirement just does not happen. Like it just doesn't happen. Like it's just not like an event. Like it just, if you don't plan for it, it just happens, right? That's not true. That's not how retirement works. Retirement is something that needs conscious effort, it needs conscious planning, and it needs you to be aware of what it is that you're doing to get to where you want to be. If you will take the time, plan out how are you going to get to that retirement and what does it look like? All of a sudden, you will be more confident in your ability to retire. I see so many times people are on the verge of that retirement age, right? And they are panicking. They don't really know if they'll be able to retire because of the simple fact that they didn't really have a retirement plan. So I challenge you, start planning your retirement. Maybe you can somehow see if the Roth conversion ladder fits into your retirement plan. Can it help you get to where you want to be from a retirement standpoint? That's something to think about. This is just another tool to add to your tool belt to say, I could use this to help me do XYZ to get to retirement. And that's what I wanted to leave you with today. So without further ado, what I want to say is this. If you are ready to take control of your finances and ensure that you are on the right path to achieve your financial goals, and that could be retirement goals, that could be investment goals, that could be personal finance savings goals, getting out of debt goals, whatever your financial goal is currently, I'm ready to help you take on that journey. I'm ready to take every single step of the way with you, and I look forward to the ability to do that. To get that consultation, that free consultation, to see if this is something that would benefit you, head over to thefinancialmirror.org and hit book now in the middle of the screen. And that will help you schedule your free consultation with me to see if that's something that would benefit you. On another note, if you do want to show some extra support for the stream, head over to thefinancialmirror.org/shop and pick you up some Financial Mirror gear. I truly appreciate every single person tuning in today. It has been a great episode. I hope you took a lot from it for the simple fact that there is so much to unpack here. But this, like I said earlier in this episode, this is something I found out later on in my financial journey, right? This is a huge tool that can be used to help you get to retirement or through retirement. It's just another method, right? So I hope that you got something out of this episode. If you have any questions, any comments, please leave them in the bottom of this video. If you're listening on a podcast, leave a comment if you're on Apple and just let me know how much you enjoyed the episode. I truly appreciate everyone tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, share with all your friends, family, and coworkers. If you are listening on a podcast, the 5-star review on Apple and Spotify and the written comments on Apple go a long ways in getting this message out. Till next week, continue improving the one thing you can control, yourself. Peace.
Well, that wraps up today's Financial Mirror. Join us next week as we continue to work on ourselves, change our mentality, and to commit to achieving the success we always envisioned. Regardless of your platform, help us grow as a community. Please like, subscribe, and share with the people in your lives.